I broke my back.
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What do you mean, calm it down? It's a fight. Referees telling two fighters who want to fight to calm it down? He should calm down.
So he's like a clown in his show, man. He's not your guy.
Because Tyson Fury's back, and all you motherfuckers are under attack.
Look, Eddie Hearn can say all what he likes. Who gives a shit what Eddie Hearn says? It's garbage.
Are you off your tits? Have you been smoking something?
Can you let me retire and be happy? Please, just please.
Bombs away from the Bronx Bomber!
Wilder! Let's go, baby! Let's go! I'm through. They put somebody else up and give me an interview.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You never give me a fair shake. HBO needs to fire you. You don't know shit about boxing. You ain't shit. You not shit.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
I got dropped, man.
Are you kidding?
No, you won the fight.
OMG. I am so excited.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up, MCR family? It's a second edition of the show today. Usually it's just the daily edition of the show, but it's a second edition of the show today. Another air horns for that. And, I got to be honest here, guys. This wasn't going to be the case. We were going to go live again tonight, but it wasn't going to be boxing. So all of our boxing fans that are predominantly our listener base, shout out to you guys. I bet you guys are happy you guys get 2 shows in a day. And this is mainly due to the breaking massive news, developing news over by way of Mike Coppinger. Basically, let's get right into it. And I'll intro Fugatti once I show, obviously, the breaking news tweet itself, saying, developing, John Skipper offered Deontay Wilder a 3-fight deal worth roughly $100 million to fight on DAZN yesterday, per sources. Wilder co-manager Shelly Finkel confirmed money in that ballpark. Dominic Brazil at $20 million, then 2 fights with Anthony Joshua valued around $40 million per Wilder and his team are deliberating. One thing is certain, he will defend his heavyweight title against Dominic Brazil next. A press conference will be held Tuesday in New York. We discussed that in the last show earlier today. We wait to find out if the fight will land Showtime pay-per-view or DAZN. Also, to be clear, Wilder may very well continue to fight on Showtime/Fox. Time will tell what decision is made. Again, all by way of Mike Coppinger. But before we actually dive into that breaking massive news, I'm, of course, joined by the illustrious, the Chewbacca to my Luke Skywalker, Mr. Jesse Fugatti. Fugatti, how are you doing today on this fine Wednesday night, hump day over there in the good old Dallas-Fort Worth area? And also, obviously, your immediate thoughts and reactions to this breaking news of this 3-fight, $100 million offer that's allegedly been given towards Deontay Wilder.
I'm doing well, Matt. I'm very excited to be here. The chat's lively tonight. I love that.
They're in a chatty mood. I'll put it that way. Yeah. They're in a chatty mood.
Some wicked bants going on in there. It's great. But yeah, what a fucking world we live in. 100 million deals just for everyone. It's like
you have $100 million deal. You have $100 million
Oprah Winfrey, deal. Right? It's like, hey, if I can look under your chair, there's $100 million deal down there. It's getting wild, man. I'm excited for him though. As much as people want to shit on Wilder, he's carried the sport for the U.S. Him and Canelo. He's the biggest draw on Showtime. He's done basically all of this on his own. If you look at it, he doesn't have, Joshua has Hearn 100, every day, all day, Hearn's out there selling Joshua, making sure Joshua's in a good place. Wilder's just doing it himself. He's on all the shows. He does all the interviews by himself. He doesn't have someone, some PR guy, taking care of everything. So to land this kind of a deal, man, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed with the amount of money being offered, and $20 million for Brazil. What a world we live in. That's wild.
And this is only a week after it was a $15 million flat fee from Eddie Hearn. for the Brazil fight. You know, that was last week. We reported that last week, and within that time frame, the price went up by $5 million. It went up by 33%, right? In terms of growth in the offer for that one fight. Let alone, like we reported earlier today about the whole 2-fight offer, whether or not AJ was included in that, and the reporting around that. Now it's come out, and again, I asked Mike Coppinger this. He hasn't gone back to me yet at the time of this recording and live show about whether or not this 3-fight offer is a new offer or if it's the legit first offer that was given in the meeting yesterday. I am curious as to what's the chicken, what's the egg, to be honest, in this, but that is really non-sequential with this entire story. It's non-essential. This 3-fight offer, obviously 2 of the fights being AJ, again, $100 million offer. He's getting that for 3 fights instead of 5 fights like Tyson Fury. I can't help but say this is a great offer from face value. This is a insanely amazing offer. My only criticism about the 2-fight offer that we were talking about in the last show was the fact that did not have AJ attached to it, allegedly. This has an AJ fight and the rematch attached to it in the first offer. So I am completely thrilled with this news. I don't know really how people can spin it in a negative way, either towards DAZN, Eddie, AJ, or Wilder and that team. I don't know how you spin it in any negative way. This is great news that is clearly progressing in the right direction for the fight we all want to be made. So I know this is a little bit of PCA soapbox moment for all the people that are listening right now. And we do have a lot of people that listen to the show that aren't of this mindset. So if you're not of this mindset, don't feel offended. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people that are in this chat or that are listening that are thinking to themselves, yeah, but Wilder isn't a draw. Like, he's not going to take this fight. He's going to duck. The WBC is going to protect him. If that is your first initial thought when hearing this news, something is wrong with your fanism. Like, something is wrong with your fandom. Because, again, this is fantastic news. Fu, let's dive a little more into it, and I want to get a little more of your in-depth thoughts about this offer. Should Deontay Wilder sign it? Is this the offer that he's been waiting for, that we've been waiting for? Your thoughts?
I think that with the way politics work in boxing right now, what we've seen from Top Rank and how ESPN kind of shit on Joshua and didn't have him on for his fight, with that Fury fight being something that could be really huge, with the way Showtime and Fox haven't really wanted the PBC banner, Al Heyman fighters haven't really been able to make any of the big fights, largely because of the amount of money in boxing right now. It's tough to go across the street if you're going to pay people $20 million a fight. It's got to be a lot of in-house fights. It's the only way to really pay these guys, And
on top of that, potentially make money, because we could obviously get into that is, man, this market and this bubble that is obviously building right now is obviously a good thing for fighters, but long-term, it's alarming. The little bit I know about economics in me it's red flags right now with the way this market's going. There will be a burst in these payouts. I don't know when that's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, how it's going to look when it happens, but there will come a day when we talk about that. When the market crashes.
Selling.
Yeah.
It's like short selling stocks, or like the Florida land rush that caused, the crash of the market in 29 or whatever. That's what we're looking at. It's people saying, we think there's going to be enough money in a few years that we can recoup some of these losses, or that we will line up other deals that help us absorb some of these losses, right? So we'll see what happens here. I just want to clarify a couple of things. They're not super important points, but Chris kind of called me out on Canelo not being a U.S. fighter. Canelo has fought in the U.S. pretty much his entire career.
Mm-hmm. Or at least the major part of his career.
Yes. He's considered the biggest American star. So I don't understand that point. I mean, to say he's not an American fighter. He's Mexican by birth. He fights in the U.S. The other thing someone said, what boxer has a PR guy? If we can't admit that Eddie Hearn is Joshua's PR guy, I mean, he does all the talking for Joshua.
Or if you wait, guys.
I mean,
hold on, time. These people have publicists. Like they have PR people. Kelly Swanson PR. Like that is Deontay Wilder's publicist. Like I don't know what. All major fighters have publicists. Every major celebrity has a publicist or an agent or both. That's just a weird point.
So just wanted to clarify a couple of things there.
Back to the deal.
Kind of like the deal, the angle I want to take is DAZN is 100% going after everybody.
Yeah, of course.
They
have to.
This right here is like, if you were playing Jenga, this is the piece that brings the whole thing down for Showtime. If Wilder goes, what does Showtime have? Like, it's going to be a really rough schedule this year if Wilder goes to DAZN. We've already seen Showtime has a very lackluster schedule. The Fox schedule is way better. So
let's hold off on that part of it because I do want to tackle that. We talked about it a little bit earlier on the earlier show, but I want to tackle it with you specifically. Just because you're a U.S. consumer. No offense to Rob, he's not a Showtime subscriber. You're more likely to be a Showtime subscriber than he is, even though you don't have cable. Shout out to the core cutting age. Digressing from that, though. This offer, because, I mean, before we jump to the bigger aspects of what this deal means long-term for DAZN, for Showtime, for the market, the deal itself, hyper-specific to Wilder, what he should do. Are there any issues with this offer? Like, I'm trying to sort of play devil's advocate here, trying to find some sort, not negative, but some sort of counterpoint to like, hey, maybe this isn't all sunshine and roses right now, but maybe it is. Maybe it just is that, and we're not accustomed to that in boxing. But the deal itself, Wilder should take it, right? I feel like I did not get you answered 100% on that. Wilder should 100% take this deal?
Yes. I also think it's a ballsy deal
from DAZN
when Joshua and Eddie agree to this. Because what if Wilder wins both of those fights and then leaves with all the belts and they don't
back to Showtime or Fox or whatever?
Exactly. Right? And then they don't have the opportunity to make those fights. Now, I will 100% tell everybody here, full disclosure, I would pick Joshua over Wilder any day. But that's for another show. But, I mean, I think it says a lot about where Eddie Hearn and Joshua are in this, that they have let this out of their control, really. And maybe they did have, like John Skipper did say, they obviously him and Eddie are very close. They talk all of these business deals through. But to say, we're going to let that happen, 40 mil a fight, rematch there. It would be the second fight on DAZN. Joshua's going to take it. He loses the belts. There's nothing binding to keep Wilder on DAZN for that fight to be remade, or potentially down the road after like a couple defenses or something. That's very big of them. And Wilder should 100% take this fight. He's not going to make, I don't care if you pay-per-view Brazil. I don't care what you do. Like, that shit ain't making $20 million.
This is a very dark thought. And I will admit, everyone out there listening, you can fully hate me for bringing up this aspect. And this is pure thought experiment mode here. You love thought experiments. I know you do, Fu. Because, in essence, this DAZN meeting offer is in reaction to the ESPN offer, right? I feel like, can we agree to that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If I'm Team Wilder, and I've been saying this for a while, if I'm this person, if I'm this team, this is what I would do. If I'm Team Wilder right now, I hold off on really replying to John Skipper and DAZN. Say, hey, we're going to take some time to think about it, right? Just something vague. You have Tuesday and that press conference, so you have a very small window here to get things in order, right? But why not go back to ESPN and see what their counteroffer is? Because We know ESPN is investing a lot of money in boxing and combat sports right now. On top of that, it is the bigger network. It is the bigger brand than DAZN in the U.S. Obviously, the fights are of less value in terms of just to us as fans, like Wilder versus Brian Jennings, Joseph Parker, Oscar Rivas, and Tyson Fury. I feel like we can all agree it's not as entertaining or interesting as a Anthony Joshua, Dylan White, Alexander Usyk, Vladimir Klitschko matchups. Like, there's clearly the better matchups on DAZN. I'm not disputing that, but just from a pure money standpoint, if you're Team Wilder, why not go back to ESPN and see what their second offer is? Because ESPN right now has to be shitting themselves because they spent this massive contract on Tyson Fury. You're thinking, hey, we're going to leverage that to bring Wilder over here. It's going to be this big moment. And instead of that, what did Wilder do? He said, no, I'm going to take my ball and go to a different court, a one with more money and a bigger fight. I don't need you guys. Similar to what he did with leaving the Adrian negotiations and going to fight Tyson Fury. Do you think there's any value for Wilder and his team to do that? Other than maybe just increasing your value each time. You know, it's a bidding war in a sense, right? You're going back and forth with the bidders and continuing to up your value. Is there enough time for him to do that again, in a sense?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think the Brazil fight has to be made within a certain reasonable time for an AJ fight to be made this year.
Well, we know the press conference is
Right.
Tuesday. That is penciled in.
Yeah.
We 100% know that on Tuesday there is a Bronze Bomber Promotions press conference either at the Barclays Center or in New York. No PBC heading has been on the press release. No other logos. It's just Bronze Bomber. I think that's specific for a reason. It is up in the air at this point. I think they are hedging their bets and waiting at the very last 11th hour of what to do. I think that is, in a sense, to sort of up their value. So Tuesday is that window. So let's say, in theory, you probably need a fight, like a fight or a deal signed and done by what? Sunday? You know, so you have maybe 3 or 4 days left to really up your value. I think there's some benefit to it, at least to throw out the feeler. Go back to Aram, and I forget who the person in charge of ESPN right now in terms of their and sort of like their equivalent to John Skipper, and say, hey, look, this is what DAZN's offer me. What will you guys offer me for that Tyson Fury fight, for a 3-fight deal? It can't hurt. It can't hurt, can it?
It couldn't hurt if you're just looking at money. I'm in the camp that says Wilder has never been worried about money. Quite honestly. In my mind, look, you know, I'm not a fanboy in the sense of like a lot of people are fanboys. I like Joshua.
Talk your shit. Talk your shit. Talk your shit to the fanboys, Phil. It's okay.
Like, here's the thing. I really like Joshua. I think he's a great boxer.
I'm hearing the butt coming.
Wilder is not a great boxer, but he has that equalizer, right? At any time, he can end a fight. I think Wilder's always wanted to fight for all the belts. I don't think he's ever lied when he said that. I don't think he's ever been afraid of Joshua. Joshua's never been afraid of Wilder. That's just been a narrative from both of the fanboy kind of groups. And I think Wilder signs with DAZN because he wants to fight for all the belts. I don't think ESPN, they could offer him more money. I still don't think he would take that fight. I don't think he would take that contract because he wants this particular fight. And if the money's there and it's good enough, I mean, he is going to go. Fury got 5 fights for $100 million, not even guaranteed. I got 3 fights, guaranteed $100 million, and I get to fight for all the belts, which is what I've always wanted. One name, one face, one champion. You know, he's going to sign this. I don't see him going any other route. And I also don't see like Heyman standing in the way.
No, I don't see that at all.
I think Heyman's going to do like a Danny Jacobs type thing. He's like, I'm making money anyways. Doesn't matter if you stay with Showtime or whatever. If I'm your advisor and you say you're loyal to me, go do it. Make your money.
I mean, from a legal perspective, what he is obligated to do as an advisor is he can't deny Wilder an offer. He has to just match it. So, or find a better one, right? That's his job. So if Heyman doesn't want this, he has to go and find a better offer, one to match it from other networks, if those are networks he wants to work with personally. But guess what? Wilder at the end of the day is his own person, just like AJ is his own person. Like somebody was in the chat earlier saying like, oh, like AJ has been involved in these negotiations. Well, yeah, of course. So is Eddie, but not directly with Team Wilder. Like that was the whole point of this whole mediator aspect that I've talked about for a long time, is that John Skipper DAZN come in here and get this fight dealt with much faster than Eddie talking to the media. That's just common sense. But digressing from all of that, I largely agree with everything you're saying. Though there's a little part of me, I do love a bidding war. Like I would love to, for us to have 2 more shows, one of them being a 3-fight, $120 million offer from ESPN, and then DAZN coming back with a $150 million offer for 4 fights or whatever, right? Somehow, I would love to see that just because, hell, that shit's hilarious to me. But digressing from that, let's get to the bigger aspects of this deal, which we've alluded to. It was largely thought that Wilder Brazil, before any of this reporting came out, blah, 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 that was going to be a Showtime fight. Then obviously initial reporting was after that ESPN offer that Showtime upped it to a pay-per-view. And then it's been silent since then from Showtime's side concerning this fight. But again, taking a little more macro away from this matchup specifically and Showtime's schedule overall. I said this again on the earlier show, but I want to talk about it with you, Fu. We've had Pacquiao Broner this year on pay-per-view. We've had Laura Castano and obviously Gervonta Davis, Hugo Ruiz, which was originally Abner Mares. That is not a particularly great schedule. It is only March, so it is only month 3 of the year, and we've only named 3 cards. So I'm not too upset by it. I think the Laura Castano one's a big bad sign. Like Gervonta, Hugo Ruiz turned out to be such a dud, but I think if we had Abner Mares, it wouldn't be as much of an issue, just being honest, even though I hated that matchup. But from a pure viewership perspective, that would have done better than Ruiz. Digressing from that, what can Showtime put together in the next quarter to sort of, A, get away from this perception right now, whether or not it's 100% real or not, that Showtime is having massive issues? Because I think there is nuance to whether or not that's even true. And especially on top of, we are hearing that Jamel Charlo, Tony Harrison, that's on Fox. Jarrett Hurd, J. Rock Williams, that's on Fox. We still obviously have names like Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell. We have tons of other names, plus all the welterweights that are fighting on Fox in the last few months. They could all end up on Showtime in the next quarter, so maybe this isn't an issue in a month. But right now it seems like one, so we should address it. Fu, I want your sort of overall thoughts about this subject. Showtime struggling. Again, it was November, October, when they upped their deal. They tripled their budget. I think they have now a 3-year deal with PBC. It's a weird turnaround from, hey, we tripled our budget to, hey, we're producing less content for you guys, and on top of that, less quality content. So again, your thoughts on this, Fu?
Well, I want to be very clear in saying I think where people, especially PBC fans, where they get upset with people who say, like when Eddie comes and says Showtime's gone broke. Eddie doesn't mean Showtime, the channel, CBS, or anything like that, right? What he means is they're not going to budget as much money for boxing as these other guys are willing to put into the fighter's pocket. Also, I think like we talked when our little group FaceTime chat the other day, PBC fighters are in a weird place where because of the Ali Act, right, they can't lock their fighters down the way they would want to because Heyman is an advisor and not a promoter. And
for example, very quickly, that's why you don't see 10-fight, $300 million deals on PBC in a sense. You have Mayweather getting a deal with Showtime and stuff like that. Daniel Jacobs one with DAZN, but it's never directly PBC with their fighters' long-term deals because of the Muhammad Ali Act. Yes.
Yeah, because Heyman can't be a manager and promoter. And he's kind of an advisor / manager. He doesn't really, it's a weird role. Like, I mean, people have said, like, who's ever heard of this before? But I think they're in that weird place where they can't lock people in. Showtime's numbers are not good enough, I think, for high up execs to be like, we could really offer in some way the same contract to someone. If you're only doing 1 million views, how can you justify a $20 million payday? It's really hard to justify that.
Well,
Whereas DAZN is admittedly losing money. Like, they're going to lose money.
well, we're obviously going to touch that. Like, how can DAZN continue that? So I don't want to touch on that too soon because I want to stay on Showtime and them as a business sort of plan for their boxing content. Is this a little bit too soon in terms of outrage? Like, are we raising the red flags of concern when it's only March? It's only, again, it's March. What's the date today? It's the 10th or something. Like, that's 13th. Like, we're not even the end of the third month of the year. They've had 3 events. One was pay-per-view. I will give you that. But they've had 3 events, and I said this on the show earlier with Rob. There's a legit argument that Pacquiao-Broner is the biggest fight of the year so far, and that's a Showtime fight.
That's a fucking shame.
You know what I mean?
But,
like, so
yeah.
Are we again? Like, when I sort of brought up the subject, I think there's far too much nuance for us to have like a black and white issue on like what Showtime is like right now. I think Showtime should be fine. Again, they tripled their budget. Like, they have money. I think whatever we're seeing here might be a really short-term, microscopic sort of blip in the radar. Because, again, we don't know what the next quarter looks like in terms of scheduling. The Fox schedule isn't finalized yet, and we have all the welterweights coming off Fox fights. Some of them have to end up on Showtime. And also, Showtime looks like they're going to a monthly platform or monthly show when it comes to boxing. Like, it looks like it's going to be 1 card a month going forward for Showtime, which is fine. I'm okay with that as long as the cards are quality. If we get a Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, Earl Spence, Thurman, Pacquiao sort of, I don't know, some sort of variation of those matchups on Showtime in May and June and July, I think we largely don't care about this topic going forward. But that is yet to be seen. Because what if we do hit July and the fights that have been scheduled aren't the great cards, aren't the great main events, or sort of the B-list names, and it's watered-down events after watered-down event each month? Then I think we can come back and circle back to this discussion. Well, it's obviously more of an issue because now it's 2 quarters of the year where they're really not having the greatest schedule. But like I said, they have the biggest fight of the year so far. Like, is this just us being boxing media and boxing fans and freaking out over nothing and, Twitter debates that are pointless?
Well, I don't think it's freaking out over nothing because PBC, they put themselves in a position where they're going to have to rob Peter to pay Paul. Like, they have a contract now with Fox. They have a contract with FS1. They have the contract with Showtime. Like, they're going to have to pull what was good programming from Fox to put it on Showtime or vice versa. So I think they're going to really struggle to keep everyone happy. And what I think is going to happen is if you're a high up exec at CBS, you're not going to continue to put a massive budget. Remember, a budget doesn't mean that money is guaranteed. Like,
true.
It's like when you do anything in business, you budget for something. It doesn't, if it's not working out, you pull that budget. Like, so Showtime at any point could say 400,000 viewers and this amount of money just do not make sense for us. What's your plan? And if Espinoza can't come back and say, we're going to have all of these blockbuster kind of fights, they may just pull out. It's not a matter of them not having the money to put more into it. It may just be like them saying, it's not worth it for us to put the money into it. That's where I think Eddie just doesn't clarify his point that DAZN is willingly losing money. Skipper said that. We've invested in boxing as the vehicle right now, hoping to get these bigger things later. And Showtime's not worried about that. Showtime's not going to go after the NBA or the Major League Baseball or anything like that. They're not worried about that. Showtime is more like programming sitcoms or TV
Dramas,
shows,
yeah.
and mini series and dramas and blockbuster kind of like epic little series and stuff. So boxing for them is a small amount of their budget. They're massively successful. They're not going bankrupt. They just may not care to put money in boxing.
Now let's get.
That's my point.
No, I think I think not necessarily that you're largely right, but that if what is the worst case scenario for Showtime or for fans of Showtime's content, that could be the reality. Like if Showtime is having those conversations, they're happening exactly as you're putting it, I should say. It's still like a wait and see with me. I'm not ready to call up the warning flags. They have Pacquiao Broner this year. Like, we forget that. And even though it was pay-per-view, it did over 400,000 buys. Look at the effect Wilder Fury had. That happened to be a great fight, but Pacquiao Broner wasn't. But regardless, it's still Pacquiao Broner, and that is, again, the biggest fight of the year so far. And who knows if by the end of June and July, it still is. It still could be the biggest fight of the year so far. Like, that could be a legit possibility.
Well, and let's be real. I mean, not to cut in, but
No,
Thurman Pacquiao as a pay-per-view unification type thing, or if a Pacquiao gets he's just got a regular belt, so if he gets like a better belt,
makes total sense.
That's gonna sell.
Yep.
Who doesn't want to see
and
that fight?
I'll buy it.
Yeah,
I'll be
that's a
honest.
good fight. I mean, they've got. Here's the thing: if they do have that massive budget and they're doing one show a month, they've got money. Like, because if they're only doing one show a month, they can split their money up and really have a full card that is very good versus like a good headliner and then really shitty undercard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they've got a lot of money to play with. And Espinoza's not a stupid guy. Like, I understand that if you like one, you don't like the other, and you're just going to like say whatever is necessary to shit on the other one or troll the other one. But none of these people are stupid. They are all massively successful. John Skipper has been high up at ESPN, the biggest sports broadcasting network in the world. It doesn't even matter.
And he was there a long time too. He was there a very long time.
And the main guy from DAZN, which his name is eluding me, but
John. It's not Mankiewicz. That's somebody else. I'm thinking Ben Mankiewicz. It's John Mikowski.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he's from London, and they built DAZN from the ground up. So he's not a stupid person. They're in, I think someone said 8 countries, massively successful. Eddie Hearn, completely.
Well, let's
boxing back.
Let's get into the whole successful or not. We've had this conversation. I don't know whether it was on air or not, Fu. I'll be honest. We talk a lot, and we talk about the same shit on air and off air. Let's be honest. Me and you have the same discussions, just on a loop about the market. What's going to happen to it? Oh my god. But let's have that discussion again, whether or not it's a repeat of old discussions. The amount of money that is flooding this sport is just unheard of. Like the percentage increase from the budget from last year to this year across the board has never really been replicated in sports history. Like, I've tried to do some research on big budget increases for like the NFL deal, right, for their TV deals, right? When that happened, I think it was 2015 or 14, right? Remember when they got the big new deal and or maybe it was the NBA. The NBA did that, and they I think it was like a $20 million increase. Like, it wasn't that much. It was a relatively low margin of increase in the budget, while boxing went from a combined in the U.S. alone. I'm not talking about U.K. budget because that's a completely different ballpark. I'm not even going to talk about. I'm not educated enough to talk about. But in 2015, the combined budget in Boxing Network was around $60 to $70 million. Showtime alone has that now. ESPN has that plus another $30 million allegedly. Obviously, DAZN with the Golden Boy, Canelo, Matchroom, all those deals, let alone the Triple G offer in DAZN, for Triple G Promotions, like DAZN is paying hundreds of millions. Fox is spending another $70+ million per year. It is insane the amount of increase that the overall capital that boxers are making, promoters are making in the sport. That percentage increase is just unfathomable. How long can that be sustained? Especially with the leading sort of network, to use that term, that's sort of leading the charge of this is DAZN. They are a completely new network in the U.S., starting from scratch. Can they be successful long term betting on black, so to speak, which is boxing? Betting on the Canelos, the Golden Boys, the Matchroom of the world, betting on Deontay Wilder, Triple G. Is that enough to make them successful long term? Is that enough to make them money when they are spending $20 million for a Brazil fight? I've always been one to say, yeah, we don't know what the total revenue is when counting international distribution, merchandise, all the fun extra revenue streams. There's no way they get the money back on a Brazil fight, right? Like there is no way, in my opinion. You are losing money from somewhere. You have to reallocate funds from another source in your company in order to fulfill that. And that seems like it's a long-term strategy right now for DAZN. Can it be successful? We have yet to hear really any firm reporting about their subscription rates, their viewerships, etc. How we're talking about being concerned for Showtime. How concerned should we be for DAZN this time next year, or 2021, 2022, when it's a few years down the line and they're not, getting a lion's share of the market? They might have the big names, but they're not really making big money because it's DAZN. It's not ESPN. It's not Showtime. It's not HBO. It's not these big, known U.S. behemoths when it comes to entertainment. Fu, again, I want your thoughts about this before I give mine.
Well, I think I've discussed this with you before, and I think on air.
I forget.
But all the big companies do this.
No, of course, I know that. That's why I say. That's why I say 2022.
Yeah.
Do we see the effects of this being an issue, and we won't know about it till then because they don't release numbers?
I don't know, because you gotta. The government's gonna let them write off losses to some degree. First and foremost, they're within like their first year of a business. I think up to maybe like the third year, you can still write off a significant amount of losses if you're operating at a loss. So that's not a huge deal. They have all of the other deals that in the other countries that they can run money into the U.S. market to do what they need to do. And the U.S. market is probably going to be the most profitable in the long run for them, especially if they land anything like the NFL, the NBA, or Major League Baseball. And by 2022, let's face it, who's going to be watching a television on linear cable?
I think you're. I've talked about this before about how the streaming era isn't going to be Napster for television. Like I feel like there's a lot of people that are cord cutting, thinking like, oh, that it's their version of Napster right now. To use sort of that frame of mine. Go back to 1999 right now. But look at the era of streaming music now, right, Fu? The industry took it over. They figured out a way to monetize it, and they just converted the entire industry to a streaming service. The big labels didn't fall apart. The big producers didn't fall apart. The big distributors never fell apart when it came to the music industry. They stayed. They just gamed the system. They figured out the innovation that was coming, and they figured out a way to monetize it. It took them a little bit to get
the same. Yeah, it'll be the same.
But that's what I'm getting to right now. DAZN is not ESPN. That's why ESPN is already jumping the gun on streaming. All Disney properties are. We have Disney Plus opening this year.
Yeah.
Yes, people are cord cutting, but the common brands, the common networks that people go to for entertainment in the U.S. isn't going to change. We see that in music that never changed. We didn't get a new wave of labels that came in the streaming era that took over and took a lion's share of the market. That never happened. So I don't know how we can all of a sudden now think that in sports that will happen. That DAZN will come in here as a new brand, a new play on the block in a new paradigm shifting era of sports entertainment, and that they're somehow going to game all the industry players, like an ESPN, like a Fox, like NBC, for example. I don't see that happening. Maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but long term, I don't know how they get the big four, which you've said they sort of need to be successful.
Yeah, they need, in some way they need it, right? And I don't know that you have to get the entire rights. But
let's define that.
There's other rights. College basketball.
No. But I mean,
there's lots of things you can.
No. I mean, like you mean like they could have like Sunday night NFL.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing, and that'd be enough.
And let's face it, it's going to be like bundles, right?
Of course.
At some point, you're going to go, I pay $25 a month or $30 a month, and I get DAZN, ESPN, Showtime. You know, like it'll be cable companies. That's how they'll do it. Like you said about music, they're going to get smart, and they're going to say, look, everyone's cutting the cord. We need to figure out a way to buy the rights to maybe sell these apps to people as a bundle, and we still are making money somehow. That's what they'll do. I mean, you already see it happening in like the cell phone providers where it's like, hey, you get this plan, you get Hulu, you get, Tidal Music, you get all these things, right? Because those companies are going to people and saying, hey, sell our product, we'll give you a little bit of a kickback, but they gain massive subscribers from that, right?
Yeah. Like I got Tidal when the Jay-Z 444 album dropped.
Yeah.
Paid $20 a month for that. Pissed off as hell.
So, I mean, look, it's what I think DAZN will do long term is they will be successful. Will they be as big as ESPN? They don't have to be successful.
No, I think that's true.
Yeah, and I don't even know that that's long-term goal. They've said they want to be the Netflix for sports.
That is a goal. I mean, it is very clear it is DAZN versus ESPN.
But I think that it will be a slower, like they have a long-term plan. And I think a lot of people are looking at like short-term success. And I think DAZN's plan is way more 8 to 10 year type thing. And who knows by then. And if they get any of the other deals, their subscriber base is going to shoot through the roof because I think NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, they're all going to be looking for a place to go where people can watch the games whenever they want, that they can get massive rights. The thing that might stop the NFL and the NBA is the player unions. That's the one thing I wonder, because they have so much money from the TV rights that go into their contracts. So can any of those guys offer that kind of money? I don't know. That's a lot of fucking money.
Look, I think obviously it's sort of predicting when we get to the point where like cord cutting is officially here, right? When that age is here, like, hey, cable providers aren't really in existence anymore, in a sense, right? The DirecTVs, the Dish networks, they either evolve or they die, right? Like when that age comes, I don't know what it looks like, but I 100% believe the Fox, the ESPNs, the NBCs, the CBSs of the world, they will all exist, and they will still be the dominant players in the entertainment industry. It will just be TV to streaming, and it will be just like that when we went from CDs to streaming. Like there's so many parallels between these two industries, in my opinion, that I just feel like it's so obvious what the path is. But again, I've always been in the mindset that DAZN is a vehicle towards this paradigm shift and not really the end goal of it. But digressing from that, back to Wilder, $100 million offer, and the effects, and sort of connecting to DAZN and its success. How big of a deal is getting Wilder for DAZN? And not just for the AJ fight. Obviously, that in and of itself is a big deal. But Is Wilder, him alone, is that a major grab for DAZN where the money, the loss leader title that's obviously being placed on Wilder with this price tag, is that deserved?
Look,
Is
they
that
have to
earned?
get Wilder. Like, they have to get Wilder because that's the piece ESPN doesn't have. Everyone was really set on that Fury Wilder rematch, right? Like, that was going to be the moneymaker. That's why ESPN grabbed up Fury. They thought, this is how we can draw Wilder over to our side. This is how we can get him on our platform. It didn't work. To this point, it hasn't worked, I should say, because we don't know. Like, they could come in with some, 11th hour crazy offer, so who knows? But for DAZN, this is like the missing piece of the puzzle. And for so many reasons, because if Wilder comes, you have such a better chance of getting Jermall Charlo. You have such a better chance of getting Jared Hurd. You have such a better chance of getting those names when they see a guy like Wilder sign that deal. They're going to go, well, shit, like, we didn't go earlier, but all the belts are there for me. And Hurd's going to move to 160. He's not going to want to be on the side of the street with one belt.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to want to be on DAZN. He's going to want a massive contract. And if fighters don't take advantage of the money now, it's like Eddie said, in a couple of years, the money is going to dwindle, but only because there's so many big contracts out there, they're going to have less and less to offer everyone. I don't think the money is going to go out of the industry. It's just that there'll be less to divvy up. So I think this piece for DAZN could really help them ride out the 4 or 5 years that they're going to be waiting for some really big contract from someone else, right? So
Someone else being another sport, right, is basically what you're saying.
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
Because I think me and you're probably in agreement here that their model with boxing alone cannot really capture the U.S. sporting landscape the way they are hoping for and the way that will really make them money. Like ESPN Plus, they could have all these fighters that DAZN have, and guess what? It's not going to be successful purely because of that content. That just does not exist, people. I do apologize here. We are a niche community. And speaking of trending now on Friday nights on Patreon.com, the whole college bribery scandal, right? I'm switching into boxing, right? Just hear me out, Fu, okay? The whole Lori Loughlin, right, story, right? Miss Full House, Aunt Becky, right, going to jail potentially. Her show on the Hallmark Channel, right? She has a TV show there. It had like a third episode or something like that. It did 2.5 million views on the Hallmark Channel. Okay, guys. Always have perspective about where we place in the entertainment industry. It is below Lori Loughlin, guys. Let's be 100% honest. But digressing from that, DAZN, I mean, look, I think it's a fantastic platform. This is a fantastic offer. I think Wilder should take this 100%. What does that mean for Showtime long term? I have no idea. What does that mean for DAZN long term as a business? Can they be successful? I have no idea. But Fu, it's final thoughts time. Let's get out of here.
No callers, huh, guys? You suck. No, I'm just playing.
Hey, it's okay, man. I'm tired. I was up at 4 a.m. this morning. I'm like, I never want to do this again.
So I think, Showtime, this is going to be rough for them because I'm pretty sure Wilder's the only person that's like broken 1 million viewers on Showtime in quite some time. Can they persist in a world with this much money being thrown at everyone with 400,000 to 600,000 views per fight and everything happened to be pay-per-view basically? I don't know. I think DAZN has positioned themselves very well in a market with basically 7 months of operation. They got Canelo, Triple G, Anthony Joshua, potentially Wilder, Rungsvisai. I mean, dude, they've really, to me, done an exceptional job for boxing.
Yes.
I love all the content. I love getting to see a lot of the UK fights we had to illegally stream before. I think the landscape looks great for boxing fans, and I guess what I would say is we are a small niche community.
Time out before you jump into that, man. Yeah. That era was so trash. Like having to stream every UK fight card, that was so trash. That was a year and a half ago. So I'm happy with DAZN. I want to make that clear. Like my points about DAZN and it being successful are only about it long term as a sporting property overall. Nothing to do with boxing. They've done a great job with their boxing content. That's obvious.
Absolutely. I remember having to message UK boxers and be like, do you have a way that I can watch your fight? Josh Taylor versus O'Hara Davies. I was like, where do I watch this? I caught clips on YouTube, but you have to illegally stream everything. And these shit streams a lot of times. So it's a great way now to get all of our boxing. It's a great landscape. Obviously, the fighters are benefiting like they should. I mean, these guys put themselves in harm's way every time they enter the ring. So, good for all of us. And what I can say is we should support the shit out of all these platforms that are making it a lot cheaper to be a fan. Because, if we had 5 or 6 pay-per-views in 1 year, it's $400 or $500, worth of money spent. Whereas we could come through now and 12 months of DAZN is $120, ESPN Plus like $5 or $6, so it's a very good time to be a fight fan in general with the UFC, with Bellator, boxing. It's all so available. There's so much that you can go back and recap on. These channels are bringing all kinds of old fights back. So if you're a big fight fan, you can go watch all the old fights and really have that knowledge that you didn't have historically, or the fights you can't find historically in really good quality.
Quickly. I see people saying they want to call in. You guys can call in. Like I can stop the outro. I don't mind stopping the outro. 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Or Skype Mixed Combat Radio. Otherwise, I'll keep playing the outro till we have callers. If we don't have callers in the next couple minutes, we can just head out of here. It's no big deal, guys. We've had 2 shows today. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't worry. We'll be back early tomorrow morning with a Patreon-only show, and then obviously midday, late night UK show, obviously with Rob as usual. Probably going to come over and talk about a lot of these same topics. I would assume Rob will want his takes on air about this offer, but come on. Yeah. You guys call in. You guys know that. Phone lines are always open, but otherwise, we'll move out. Fu, continue to give your final thoughts and all that stuff. Don't worry about it.
I mean, that's it. I mean, that's really it for me. I think it's a great time. I just think it's a great time to be a fight fan. I really appreciate everyone in the chat, consistently giving their takes. I hope you guys enjoy a space where you can give your take and not be silenced. And we're pretty accommodating to all takes here. So, I love hearing everybody's, viewpoints on all this. So.
Absolutely agree. My final thoughts, obviously, pretty much have said them already. Like, I think Wilder should take this offer on face value from what we know. It looks like a great offer. Plus, we get the AJ fight, and we get it right after the Brazil fight. That is 100% what I wanted. So let's do it. Like, it's a ton of money. I'm okay with it being on DAZN and it not having the major platform of a Fox, Showtime, or ESPN pay-per-view. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't need that at the end of the day. I think boxing can survive being a niche sport on an app. Can that niche app support itself and survive? That's a completely different question for a different time. But like Fu said, you can find us all platforms, Mixed Combat Radio, MCR Podcast, MCR Radio Show. It's all there at the bottom or in the description. Find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, all platforms as well. And again, hit the like button on your way out, share the show, subscribe, listen on the podcast forum, drop that 5-star review, and head over to patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio right now. Go drop a topic and question in the free posts for Trending Now and Championship rounds. One would be tomorrow, one would be Friday. Go check them out. Peace.